Hey everybody, Bonehead for the Bonehead podcast, and welcome to Star Player Spotlight. Captain Karina von Riesz, or as I call her, Karina von Fangs. This is a new star player from the Vampire Spike and a pretty cool addition to the Undead world. Now, we're covering every star player available in Blood Bowl 2020, whether it's from a new Spike, from the rulebook, or just available from Forge World, and kind of covering their stats, their skills, their cost, and more importantly of all, their usefulness. And Captain Karina von Riesz is very useful. Okay, so Karina von Fangs, let's see what she does. So, at 230k, that makes this star player infinitely affordable. Now, we're looking at the Sylvanian Spotlight teams only here, so Tomb Kings, Undead, Necromantic, and Vampires. So, not the most susceptible to a TV swing, okay? They're not going to be down team value quite as much as your Elves or Skaven or anything like that. They're not going to take the casualties. What they are going to do, though, is be slower to brew up. So if you're joining a league with an Undead team, a Sylvanian team, you are likely to find yourself 200 to 300k down at some point. Not necessarily due to grievous wounds, but actually you're just going to develop slower than other teams. So there's a potential there that actually this is going to be very, very effective. And moreover than that, Karina von Fangs is going to be very affordable at tournament level. We see Karla all the time. Karla's about the same price range. And there's going to be quite a lot of comparisons between Karla and Karina here because they kind of fill a similar role. So 230k, movement 7, strength 4, edge 2+, passing 4+, armor 9+. You've got a movement 7, strength 4 piece. And that's where the kind of comparison starts to brew up. You've got a good movement, good strength, good agility piece already at a very affordable price. And then you look at the skills. So dodge, hypnogaze, jump up, loner 4+, and regeneration. We've got Bloodlust 2+, but I'll come back to that in a second. So we've got a strength 4, movement 7, edge 2+, dodger here for 230k. That is a brilliant mid-range player. Okay, she's a little bit on the more expensive side of affordable all of the time. We're not talking as cheap as a bomber. We're not talking as cheap as kind of like your low-end star, like Sheepskin, something like that. No, not 150, but 230 is achievable. But what you're going to get for that, movement 7, strength 4 with dodge and edge 2+, gives you a really effective toolkit player. You're going to get vanilla strength 2. You're going to get vanilla strength 4 2-die blocks with her. And movement 7, edge 2+, well, edge 2++, because you've got the dodge reroll, means that there's a good bit of mobility there as well. In fact, she's fast. This is, apart from Cheney, the fastest star player you can get for the Sylvanian teams, I think. So actually, that makes it a really effective scoring player. If you look at Luther, movement 6, that's a 3-turn touchdown zone without taking any rushes. Karina sits in that kind of fast room where movement 7 is going to get you a touchdown in 2 turns from the touchline, which is kind of something that the Undead teams don't have a huge amount of. Certainly not at that strength, and definitely not with that agility. So you've got all that, and then there's kind of a couple of things. Right, we've got regen, we've got jump up, and we've got armor 9+. Armor 9+ isn't brilliant. Strength 4 dodge is going to help with her resilience. Armor 9+ isn't particularly, but jump up is going to keep her in the fight if she's not murdered. And regen is kind of going to help keep her on the field if she is murdered. That's actually just straight up true. But she's a vampire. Great stat line. Great stat line. You know me, love an edge 2+ player. Really love them when they're strength 4. Where do we start? Hypnogaze. When you think of vampires in Blood Bowl, you think of two things. You think of Bloodlust and you think of Hypnogaze. Now, Hypnogaze is a bit of an underrated skill, and it's kind of the thing that's going to make her incredibly useful. Movement 7's great, Strength 4's great, Edge 2+ with dodge is brilliant. Those are all very useful things. But Hypnogaze at Edge 2+ on a team that doesn't have access to it, or quite frankly is just running her to fill in a gap, is brilliant. Hypnogaze is going to allow her to do one of two things. Movement 7 left and right, cover the whole pitch, wander up to the edge of edge of a cage or edge of a target player, and on a 2+, most of the time, you're going to be able to turn off that player. Now, if they're marked by other players, then it's going to go 3, 4, 5+, etc. But actually, as a starting point, if you can go corner to corner with your target on a 2+, that target gets switched off. Their skills, generally speaking, are going to get switched off. But always their tackle zone is going to get switched off, which gives you a ton of options there. Now, I said there's going to be one of two things, and those are the two things. She can either switch off the tackle zones, switch off the skills to allow somebody else to wander past into and cage dive. Now, when their tackle zones are gone, if that's the corner of a cage, you are generally going to be left with a nice juicy block in at the ball carrier in the center of that cage. The other thing, movement 7, strength 4, edge 2+. If somebody else can take the corner of the cage away, she's going to be an effective blocker. It is 2 dice. She's got loner 4+ and no block. So it is definitely a risk. But I've taken much riskier plays than a 2 dice strength 4 block on the ball carrier in a cage. Because if that goes wrong, you're still left in a pretty good place. She's got jump up, so she's going to be there. So that Hypno Gaze is going to just give you those options. The other thing here is that Bloodlust is really weird. It's really weird for Bloodlust to have on a star player that can be taken by a team that doesn't have thralls. Bloodlust is, you activate, you declare your action, you roll for Bloodlust. If you fail Bloodlust and at the end of your turn, you're not standing next to a thrall, it's a turnover and you drop the ball. So it can be crippling. However, she has a very cool special ability called Tasty Morsel. Now, the first time she fails a Bloodlust in the game, she can bite an opponent instead of a thrall. Let me just double check that. Once per game, yeah, she can bite an opponent instead. She may choose to bite an opposition player with strength 3 or lower as if they were a thrall alignment teammate. Can't bite star players with a special rule. Now, remember, a bite goes straight through armor, so it's straight to stun, KO, or badly hurt. You can't cause a serious injury, it can only be badly hurt. Yeah, there's going to be a turn where you genuinely would love for her to fail Bloodlust, especially because you've got that Hypno Gaze deal as well. Because you're going to be able to just wander up to somebody, try and Hypno Gaze, or try and blitz somebody away, move in, follow up, and then at the end of your activation, bite somebody else covering the side of a cage. So this is going to be a really effective combo once per game. Otherwise, she's going to cause a turnover. But if you think about it, 1 in 6 turns, so twice a game she's going to fail. 2 to 3 times a game she's going to fail a Bloodlust. The first time it could and probably will benefit you because she's going to be able to target a strength 3 player on your opponent's team. The second time is going to be a turnover. Now, we've seen this from playing vampire games. In fact, it came up a bunch of times if you watched the game that we streamed with them. Sometimes it's fine to activate your Bloodlust player last and just take the turnover. They still get to do everything you want to do. So if you maneuver your team around in a turn or after she's failed her first Bloodlust and just be the last player that you activate, it's going to be fine. It's only going to trigger on a 1+. It is going to trigger a turnover if you do not have thralls. So if you're taking her an Undead or Tomb Kings or whatever like that, you are going to have a turnover and that's going to be the end of the turn. But if you do it as one of the last things you want to do anyway, then you just get free rolled a movement 7, strength 4, edge 2+ dodge player. That is pretty mighty. Okay, so I genuinely think that Karina is going to be a really popular star player. Good price range, going to be a nice alternative to Cheney. Same price range and fits the kind of role of a decent, fast, strength 4 piece. So Karina's going to be popular. The Forge World model is not my favourite. It could just be the angle. I've not picked up that model. The hat seems a bit derpy, but it's a pretty cool pose. And the good thing about Blood Bowl, though, is that third parties have got you covered. Brute Fun is just wrapping up part 2 of the vampire team that he's doing. And the vampire team is beautiful, the vampire team's awesome, and has included a vampire runner with pirate hat to be a perfect fit in there for Karina. So if you don't fancy the Games Workshop version, you can go and get the Brute Fun one. The STL is available on the Patreon at the moment, or the My Mini Factory page, or you can pick up 3D print from our shop if you want to run her. Now, I'm sure that Punga and Grebo will get some cool alternatives out soon enough, but if you need her right now, this is what I would recommend. Okay, so Karina, Karina von Fangs absolutely fits that mid-range star player role. If you're in a league and you've got this amount of cash, she's going to be phenomenal. Movement 7 is going to feel like a dream for these undead teams because it's backed up with that Edge 2+. So you've got a ball carrier if you need it, you've got a stretch play if you need it, and you've got a pretty effective blitzer if you need it. Now, strength 4 dodge, not the same as strength 4 block, so it is going to cause you a bit of grievance every now and again because Loner 4+ is going to hurt you because she's going to go in there sometime and it's going to be skull both down and you are going to be pickled. But actually, she stacks it, you've got that regen, and jump up is going to keep her in the game. But those times where your Hypno Gaze or your Blitz followed up with a failed Bloodlust for the first time in the game, it's going to be phenomenal. She's going to wander in there, switch off that side of the cage, Bloodlust this side of the cage out, and leave it wide open for your mummy to wander in, or a werewolf to wander in, or your vampire blitzer to wander in. And that is just a ton of fun. So I'm really excited to get Luther to the pitch, but actually I think Karina is going to be one of the most popular star players moving forward, especially in Sylvanian Spotlight. Her, Cheney, tough choice. But I tell you what, it's pretty great for Sylvanian Spotlight teams to actually have a choice now, because they haven't for a long time. And this is going to make them even more potent on the pitch. Anyway, let me know what you think about Captain Karina von Riesz, Karina von Fangs, and we'll be back soon with more Blood Bowl content. Happy blocking. Thanks very much for watching. We really appreciate your support. If you want to support the channel even further, please like and subscribe. It really does help us out. Or come join us on YouTube Members or in Patreon, where you can get exclusive access to some content, some loot, early access to basically everything we do, as well as regular competitions. Or you can pick up some Bonehead Podcast loot either on our website at boneheadpodcast.com. We've got the Dungeon Bowl things, we've got tokens and stuff like that, or on our Spreadshirt site as well. Everything you do just helps us make more content and hopefully do it of better quality. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Happy blocking.